Hi, Paola. How are you? Thank you so much for being here. We are really happy to have you inside this 12 weeks challenge. We are now in week 7, and we are talking about your specialty, risk, and also recall and management of risk. Okay, but what I would like first to share with the class is that unlike all of the other guests so far, you are not a food safety professional. In fact, you did law school, right? So share with us a little bit about your journey since law school and how did your journey to lead you to also support food industry at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Nuno, first of having me here. And hello, everybody. Yes, you're right. I graduated in jurisprudence, so I did law school. And after some years working in a legal firm, I started my career as a regulatory professional. And from the regulatory point of view, I think that regulation and compliance are vital skills to a certain number of sectors. And first of all, in pharmaceutical sector. So that's where I started. Then little by little, I shifted to food supplies, food and feed. As I realized more than 15 years ago that those sectors needed skilled and experienced regulatory workers. So I shifted to that ones. And also today, I believe that compliance and regulation, prevention are never enough. And especially when we work with safety and health of people. So this is a mission that needs constantly evolving work and updates, training, study, innovation. And that's what we do mainly. When compliance fails, yeah, we have this role as a crisis manager and we go in action.
Mhm, mhm. So right now and moving to today and what would you say is your main focus at the moment? What takes most of your time in a normal day?
In a normal day, let's say that our mainly work is crisis prevention, planning, response, and recovery. Let's say that we mainly work on regulation and the regulation crisis prevention, because when the rules of the game change, of course, we have to change our formulas, our labels, and our way of developing products. But then we also work, let's say, on recalls, and we mainly deal with dangerous products. Because when a product becomes dangerous to at least a part of its customer base, that's where crisis can really happen and hurt people. So let's say that today we do a lot of recalls, at least 2 or 3 per week, which is a huge number
Yes.
compared to the ones that we were used to 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if some decades ago we used to consider an emergency or a recall a once in a lifetime event in an organization, today it's most likely to increase the frequency for many different reasons, mainly because, especially in food, we rush in the market to propose always new products instead of perfect ones.
Mm-hmm. I understand. But just for curiosity, because you are based on Italy, maybe people can understand that based on your accent. But well, those 3 recalls are only in Italy, or do you work worldwide?
Now, we work worldwide. We
Mm-hmm.
work with a lot of German, British, and American
Mm-hmm.
companies.
Mm-hmm.
We also work in import-export, so with custom clearance and port issues. basically from Asia and particularly with China.
Okay, great. But Paola, tell me something. Well, I believe your last 12 months must have been pretty crazy because from my research, you have published two books, one about crisis management and another about managing business in a health crisis. And all of us now are dealing with the impact of COVID-19 in business and in life, unfortunately. So during this year, have you been reached by food industry for support more than usual, would I say?
Let's say not more than usual, but I cannot complain about our workloads. Let's
Mhm.
say that in the last month, it was our moment, professionally speaking. For sure, COVID-19 has a lot of impact also on the food chain, on the supply chain. And yes, we've been contacted by new clients, but indeed not more than usual. Let's
Mhm.
say that not more than usual.
Okay. Okay. So if it, the of course the pandemic situation impact everybody, but your work increases, but not for new clients, probably from your usual clients, right?
Let's say we have new clients.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, our job is much more understandable today
Yeah.
after COVID-19 from the outside, that than it was ever been before, because crisis management was something like, what are you doing really in your life? But we are a small company. We try to
Mm-hmm.
take care about our clients very, very well and very often. We decreased our work in prevention connected with labeling because there weren't been so many new launches during
Mm-hmm.
this year
That
and
makes.
not so many trade shows and fairs to support new products on the market. But we have been working a lot, especially in ports and in supply chain disruptions.
Makes sense. Let's move on. Let's talk about recalls. And I remember that one time I was looking to talk with you, and yeah, you told me that you were in the middle of a big recall. Of course, I don't want you to share any confidential issues, but what can you share with us about this? Even if not a food recall, recall procedures and management are basically the same, right? So uh, I would ask you, and this is a long question, sorry for that, but what are the three main tips you could share with food safety professionals in this class so they can be better prepared when it happens, the recall, okay? And when it happens is the word, right?
Yes, right. Thank you for your precision, Uno, uh, because uh, a recall is something. It's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when.
Mm-hmm.
As any crisis, they are willing to happen, and so thank you. I totally agree about that. So, what are the three main tips? During the last year, yeah, we handled multiple food recalls and feed recalls due to many different reasons. And many of them had a certain link to COVID-19 and to supply chain interruption, and were connected to new, let's say, suppliers that most likely clients didn't have the time to select appropriately. Procedures are very important, but more than anything else, I'd like to stretch the importance of method, posture. So my tips are: do not panic, do not waste time at looking for someone to blame. When you are dealing with a recall, it's not time to find the guilty person, but it's time to find solutions. And do not deny the problem. I mean, if you do not recognize that there is a problem, maybe it's that because you are the problem. So these are the three tips I give to any company that is going to face the first recall ever.
Mm-hmm. That's really, really awesome. And thank you. I hope people, I'm sure they are taking notes because this is really important for them to understand. that blaming is not an issue. I think first priority should be take the product off the market and guarantee no one have suffer consequence from a product, and then we have time to do the root analysis and, and understand what happened, right?
Yes, especially, you know, in my experience, I found that a lot of managers react at the beginning looking for someone to blame.
Yes.
This is time loss, because we do not need to scare people that are going to lose their job and they're going to be on a pillory. But if we look for someone to blame and we look the responsibilities with anger, we will, I think, lead people to hide important information because they are scared to share with us all the alarm signals that they have recognized in the supply chain or in the production lines. And this is no good because it doesn't take us to the solution. So first, take away the product from the market, and then to decide what proper action to take, try to be very collaborative.
Yes, and I think for all of that, communication and effective communication is a cornerstone, right? To manage any recall or any crisis. Now I ask you for 3 main tips. Now I'm asking you for 3 main errors that companies make related with communication. Do you have any really examples that you can share with us?
Yeah, crisis communication is extremely important. And I totally agree on what you said, that effective communication is a key step and a milestone to any crisis management. Evidence shows that companies that couldn't communicate well run into a second crisis, which is a reputational crisis. So, and also history shows us that a recall may either improve the reputation of a company if the company adopts a good communication with social responsibility and consistent and coherent communication, very transparent in its relationship with customers and stakeholders. So that's why communication is very important. It's a double-edged sword. I think that communication shall be fast, first of all, accurate, responsible, and informative. For what concerns the most common mistakes that you ask for, it may sound incredible, but many recalls communication are full of misspelling mistakes, copy and paste mistakes, erroneous indication of batch numbers and lots, and they are lacking about the data needed to recall the product and to know what to do or how to contact the company. It can be hard to believe, but I do have an example of a recall message notification with a mistyping of the CEO name of the company. So these things happens because we are mostly panicking, scared, and we really do not know what to do. So working tightly, precisely, and calmly is a good habit. And in the middle of the recall is very hard, but it's not just a good habit, it's a legal obligation. Right. So what do I do on my side is I take some time for myself. I just try to relax, and I read 2 or 3 times the things that I write. I, let's say, write down the first draft, which I normally reduce of 2/3. I eliminate anything that is not essential, not clear, and not informative. And writing has, let's say, it's like writing a notification or a communication for a recall, it's like working, building a house. So you first put all the scaffoldings around the building, and then when the building is ready, you take away. So I do this temporary structure, and then I go to the essential, thinking about what people need to listen, what information they need, having a certain sensitivity to the fact that maybe I am communicating with victims.
Yes. I understand. Yes, and well, I'm Paula. I'm really picking your brain, and today I'm asking 3 tips, 3 areas, and now I'm going to ask you for frameworks. Well, really picking your brain and try to give as much of your experience to the class. But well, my next question, and I believe that well, most of these topics are interconnected, so don't be worried if you repeat yourself. But if you repeat yourself, even better, so it sinks in the people that are attending this interview. My question would be, if you have a framework or any steps organization should follow to manage crisis, okay, things that they should start doing, any kind of framework that you can help people
Yeah.
and share with people, okay?
Of course, we have frameworks, but it depends on how many hours do we have together today. We have plans, we have risk assessment grids, we have BIA, so business impact analysis, and so on. So we have a lot of tools, different tools, and we build scenarios and so on. But there is much more than that. The main thing, I think, during any emergency, any crisis, even a recall, is the human component, which is something I would like to spend some words about, because the human component is really essential to any organization, and even more so when facing a crisis. Let's say that during the crisis, individuals usually feels under stress, and they need to take important decisions without a huge time frame. So stress and panic can affect the quality of decision processes. And it's not uncommon that during a recall, manager reports this sense of loss of control and stability that narrows the cognitive process. And for this reason, recalls represent one of the most complex moments, in the real world work situation in a food business. So the human component is very important because the ability to do the right thing at the right time under severe time and psychological pressure is extremely rare and difficult, and unfortunately is not paper-based. So what I suggest is when we build a crisis team that is going to face any crisis, even a recall, we have to choose the right person with the right attitude and the proper, let's say, psychological posture, because this is very important. A recall can be a very complex scenario that requires a coordination and coordinated efforts of logistics, quality, commercial, marketing, communication. So we need to exert control over many things, and we do not need people that can develop a good team working together with specific skills, with specific responsibilities clearly assigned and understood, that can handle the situation. The outcome of a team or a good team exceeds the sum of the isolated individual contribution. And I think that this is the key of crisis management and recall management.
Mm-hmm. Well, Paola, I'm sure, well, that is your business, so I'm sure you support that people will use outside persons to help them, for sure. But tell me, why do you think that can be very important? Because of the calm that people outside the organization can have, probably they don't have, or because you know exactly what it should be done, and so you can do that coordination, right?
The experience is very important,
Mm-hmm.
and in many cases, managers do not have previous experience on that precise field.
Hopefully.
So that's why it's very important to know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Processes are very important, and we know the processes, and that's the first thing. But then, after having a clear process, a plan, and all the notification forms, and knowing what to do, knowing who to call, etc., I think that being calm and not panicking, reassuring people inside and outside the company, it's very important. It's very important. Otherwise, a problem will take another one, etc., etc., and we can have reputational problems, PR problems, financial problems. Especially if the company is in the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
If we have communicational, troubles, it will lead to many other troubles, even financially speaking.
Right. Great. Paola, we are now facing a health crisis, and I would like to know your opinion. Is this health crisis a special kind of crisis? And what I mean is, if organizations have a good crisis management plan, they will be ready to deal with a health crisis, or are adaptations necessary, in your opinion?
So yes, health crises are a very special kind of crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, theoretically, we define crisis as an emergency that can have at least 12 different phases. Pandemics, natural disasters, product recalls, facility problems, info leaks, and so on. If you want, I can list you the 12 different kinds of crises, and one of them is the health crisis. What happens is that a good crisis management plan starts from the assumption that we have many different kinds of crises and focuses at least on 8 or 9 different crises that can threaten the organization, because some of them, luckily, do not work for any kind of company. So starting from the crisis types, we have public relation crisis, product failures, so product recalls, market shift. Can you think about Blockbuster or Kodak?
Yes.
They disappeared in a while because they weren't able to understand that the world was changing. We have cash shortage. It's not hard to understand that if you don't have money, you are going to run into a crisis. We have management change. We have merger and hostile takeovers. We have regulation and deregulation crisis, human resources crisis, strikes, general strikes especially, international events like Brexit that can lead to crisis inside a company, environmental crisis, which are a new kind of crisis, emerging in the last years, natural disasters, and at least health crisis. The biggest difference that there is between health crisis and any other kind of crisis is that when we face a natural disaster or a public perception and a PR crisis, we are focused on just one risk. We are focused on some suppliers. We are focused on some consumers. We are focused on, a certain facility or a certain product. When we have to deal with pandemics, all our customers or our suppliers, all our facilities are involved in the same time at different stages in health crisis. So this is very complex, very complex.
Mhm. Yes, I'm sure it is. Well, we are now reaching the final questions, and first thing I would like to ask is, well, if you have talked a lot and you have given us so many good insights on this related with crisis, but any final message you would like to share with this blueprint class today?
Yeah, yes, two words that I love a lot: care and dare. Care about your people, your products, your company, and dare, because to face emergencies, we have to be brave.
Yes.
And we will overcome anything.
Great. Great, thank you for that. Paola, where people can find you, what you do, what are the best places for them? Of course, they have the two books, but I can link to that in when I share this interview. But where the people can find more and read more about what you do?
Basically on my LinkedIn page or even on my company website and
Okay.
on the internet and through my company website, they can get directly in contact with me too.
Awesome, awesome. I will share everything with them about you, and I would like to do what I call it is the last question, but you don't know this, but I'm asking everybody the same questions. Despite you are not a food safety professional, but nevertheless I decided to ask the same question because what I'll ask you, if even if you can reply as a professional in the field, you can reply as a consumer, and I'm sure food safety is something is also important for you as a consumer. So Paola, if you had a magic wand, what would you ask for, or what you would change in food safety?
I would like to ask for more prevention
Fair.
as key of responsibility, because when we work with food, feed, even with pharmaceutical, we are dealing with people's safety and health. So responsibility is, I think, the key of our work.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Thank you for Paola for taking this half an hour with us. I'm pretty sure the class will enjoy very much what you have just shared with us. And well, we keep on touch because we have some projects together. So thank you and see you soon.
Thank you, you too. And hello to everybody.
Okay, thank you.